we are looking at parallels and extensions between the traditional story of Savitri and as it is narrated by Aurobindo. And we can see that the fundamental essence is the same, and yet there is a difference. In the traditional story, it's narrated to Yudhishthir as an example, which itself indicates that Savitri's birth in far back times, as Aurobindo reveals to us, was to hold up an example and a possibility for the race in some future time. She has done something which is possible. It's not that it has been realized for everyone, but she has shown that this is possible. And then time moves on, and we are today in 21st century. And the time has come for this to be reconnected and taken to its logical conclusion. It's not enough to save one Satyavan. It's enough now to open the doors for the race, for the human race. And that's why in the very beginning, Aurobindo makes it clear as to what the agenda of Savitri coming back as the mother, the partial incarnation coming as the full incarnation, the world mother, the divine mother. There is a meaning and purpose. It's no more just one Satyavan. And in the very beginning, Aurobindo makes it very clear when he introduces us to Savitri. We have wonderful lines in Book 1, Canto 1, Canto 2, and I'll just touch upon a few. Page 8. Thus, trapped in the gin of earthly destinies, awaiting her ordeals our abode, outcast from her inborn felicity, accepting life's obscure terrestrial robe, hiding herself even from those she loved, the Godhead greater than the Godhead greater by a human fate. So she has accepted now the human fate, the human difficulties, the human challenges. It's a marvelous line, the Godhead greater by a human fate. We speak about renunciation. There is a lot of talk about renunciation in the books, and even sometimes there is a show of renunciation. Renunciation is a big ceremony. So people renounce, and then we are told what they have renounced. What they have renounced? Worldly life. What they have exchanged it for? At least a higher life. Can you really call it a renunciation? Touch our hearts and say, it's a very nice bargain to renounce mud and filth for jewels and diamonds and pearls. Who would really call it renunciation? Only thing is that, yes, people, so Mother and Aurobindo don't talk about it much. Because they say that as long as you feel that you are renouncing something and there is a sense of pain and suffering in it, then it's no more worth it. It should be the natural outcome. Once we have the discrimination, like Nachiketa, that this is Shreyas, this is Preyas. This is real diamond, this is artificial jewelry. Now, who would, and what are you asked? To exchange your artificial jewelry for the real diamond. And if somebody does it, would we call it renunciation? But what really renunciation is, Mother and Aurobindo show us. At one place, Mother speaks about it, that I had to renounce all my experiences and realizations. Otherwise, how could she work with us? And here we have this marvelous line, the Godhead greater by a human fate. And that's why I always feel that when we turn to the avatar, God become human. It is greater than God in His own pristine purity up above. How would He know our tears and suffering and pain? Because, out there it's bliss. So He becomes human. So Savitri has also renounced what she has renounced. Not just the palace, she has renounced the divine palace. And she would tell it later when she is offered a place in up heaven. She says, that was my natural home. I have left it and come. You want me to go back there? Come on, I want to fight the battle here. And then, look at these lines. A dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was the star and stay. Too great to impart the peril and the pain. In her toned depths, she kept the grief to come. What Mother and Aurobindo must be doing? They had foreseen. They were seeing which way the evolution is going. And how could they tell what man has made of himself and what could be the dangers? They kept it within themselves and worked upon it as one who, watching over men left blind, takes up the load of an unwitting race, harboring a foe whom with her heart she must feed. Unknown her act, unknown the doom she faced, unhelped she must foresee and dread and dare. Those who went to her, she only gave her smile. Bon honey, bonjour. Yes, my child, so nice, so beautiful. But what she was undergoing, constantly grappling with man's fate, that she knew. That's why people who draw conclusions about Mother and Aurobindo and their life, based on the reading of the books alone, let me add, it can be very fallacious. And I always caution, do you think Mother and Aurobindo wrote everything that they experienced in their books? Do we also ever share or speak everything that we have inside? We, even with our closest friend, we don't. So they are divine. Many things they knew, they experienced, they realized. They have not shared it with, it's not meant for, us. What they have given us is just a small little maybe, and Aurobindo said that to Nirodha when he asked, oh, you have written so much. He said, what I have written is only less than 10% of what, I know, I am aware of. So he said, why don't you give the rest? He said, let humanity be prepared for this much. Even now people have their works neatly kept in the shelf, collected works of Aurobindo, collected works of Mother. And every day do the puja and the agarbatti. So, all that they have held within, we have no clue. And that's why again and again I come to the compassion. So why she has come? We have again in the same canto, or rather the next canto, otherwise we'll run short of time. Why she has come? Her mission. Yes. Page 17. Page 17, somewhere below the middle. For this she had accepted mortal breath. What was her mission? So you see, this is the difference. In traditional story, the story starts by Ashupati doing a tapasya to have a progeny. Because the kingdom must be passed on. Of course, even that can be seen as symbolic enough. The kingdom is the inner kingdom and the progeny is somebody who can take up the work. But here the story starts differently. The story starts with Savitri right in the forefront. Aurobindo has made it very clear. It's a story of Savitri, her victory, her battle. And so, book 1, canto 1 and 2, he gives us the backdrop. He straight away brings us face to face with Savitri and her personality and the mission and her work. And it starts from the day when Satyavan must die. That's how the story of Savitri begins. Canto 1 ends with this line. This was the day when Satyavan must die. Her soul arose, confronting time and fate. So she has come for this. But is it just for Satyavan? No. So that is made clear here. To wrestle with the shadow she had come. Shadow with a capital S. Now see here, death is no more. Dharma Raja, he is the shadow. Now this is not new in Indian tradition. In Indian tradition, we were yesterday, hearing about Indra. Indra is, the god of the divine mind in the Vedas. But what happens in the Bhagavad? Indra becomes a inferior divinity. He doesn't understand it. He is there, sending all kinds of rain and threatening all earthly creatures. Still Krishna says, no, your days are over. Now I take charge. And suddenly we see Indra, who has been up till now a high deity, come down, and when he comes down, he looks at Krishna and sees Vishnu, he does pranam, he says, my God, this is divine incarnate. So we see through a simple story, this evolutionary march even of the gods. And that's why every time, we talk about the Vedas, and I say why Savitri goes beyond, it's one of my favorite subjects. In the Vedas, the path is through the zigzag of the gods. You see all these rishis are invoking one deity, then another deity, then another deity, and each one is passing on. The Upanishads say, no, men are the cattle of the gods, the line that comes in Savitri. You can find the Supreme directly. So they go one step further. The Gita says, still further, surrender unto me and I'll take care of you. Now obviously Mother and Aurobindo have to take it still further. So even though the goal is immortality, and here of course the goal is transformation, but even if immortality is an important step on the path, the consciousness of immortality, the path in the Vedas is a very long journey. It's through the gods. Each god is his own mantra. He must be appeased, he must be brought down. Then he says, okay, you are ready for the next level. But here it's a different process. And of course it's a different goal. So she has come to wrestle and must confront the riddle of man's birth and life's brief struggle in dumb matter's night. Whether to bear with ignorance and death, or hew the ways of immortality, to win or lose the godlike game for man, was her soul's issue, thrown with destiny's dice. So this time, it's not just one Satyavan. For man, this is the emphasis. So the individual possibility must be generalized in the race. It's a very big venture. And we can take it like this, very simply, that, when before a new model comes, people start with a possibility. Say, today we have the jet age. How did it start? It started with the conception that flying is possible, and then there was the first flight which, went 100 meters. But what did it open? It was a very important thing. It was not a commercial flight. Nobody ever uses those kind of planes. But it opened the door to an individual possibility. Maybe an individual can, get some engineers, build such an aircraft and fly. But today, this possibility has been generalized into the race. So there is a transition from an individual victory to a collective victory. What Aurobindo wants to bring for Earth is a collective victory. And the same thing we see when Savitri undertakes her yoga. She is told why you are here and what have you come for. Yes, page 488. 488, Savitri's Yoga. Ashupati's Yoga starts from book 1, canto 3. And in one line, Aurobindo summarizes that the purpose of the yoga is to bring Savitri down to earth, faithful to the epic progeny. But here it's Savitri. It starts with one line. A world's desire compelled her mortal birth. So Ashupati is embodying the anguish and the aspiration of the race. He wants that Savitri should come. Page 22. We'll come back to this page, but just to complete. A world's desire compelled her mortal birth. And again he connects us to the past story of Savitri. So there is a continuity. We should not think that was a story Aurobindo picked up as a model and, made another story. There is a continuity. There is a continuity of effort. One in the front of the immemorial quest, protagonist of the mysterious play in which the unknown pursues himself through forms and limits his eternity by the hours. So he is someone who is in the front of the immemorial quest. This quest is not taking place now. It has been for ages, mankind. That's why Aurobindo starts the Life Divine with this paragraph. That since man became conscious and started thinking, what has been aspiring for? For light, for freedom, for bliss, for immortality. It has taken various shapes and forms. In various forms and names, Mother and Aurobindo have come. When one of the young disciples, I think it was Nagin Doshi, asked Aurobindo that in this life you are as avatars. What were you doing in previous lives? So Aurobindo said, carrying on the evolution. So he asked, what do you mean by that? Aurobindo says, to explain it, we will have to write the whole history of the earth. We know some of these lives, crucial junctures. So he says, carrying out the evolution. Oh, so now you are as an avatar. What were you then as Vibhutis? They had come very clearly, explicitly in small little one half a sentence. Because he's a young child who is asking, and so he is responding. So this is not the first time this effort is being taken, and I'm avoiding the temptation to get into all the lives through which Mother and Aurobindo have worked. But it's an interesting study, and sometime it can be undertaken. And how they have reached this point of grand culmination. So this is how the yoga of Ashupati starts, but how Mother's yoga starts. On page 488, in the middle, for man thou seekest, not for thyself alone. She has to now open the path for man, not just for bringing back one Satyavan, so that we can walk the way. And then this aspect of the avatar, only if God assumes the human mind and puts on mortal ignorance for his cloak and makes himself the dwarf with triple stride, can he help man to grow into the God. Dwarf with triple stride is there in the Vedas. It's also there in later on Puranic legends, though the stories are a little different. But essentially it's about the psychic being which must conquer the heaven, the earth and the subconscious, starting from above downwards. So she becomes that little humanity. Very often people find it very difficult. Oh, if one is divine, he must do miracles. Of course, miracles are there, but what about the supreme miracle that is going on in creation? How about carrying this miracle to its fulfillment? They didn't come to prove a point that they are divine. They came to transmute us into our own divinity, inherent divinity. As man disguised, the cosmic greatness works and finds the mystic inaccessible gate and opens the immortal's golden door. Man, human, follows in God's human steps. The example before us. Very often we are asked, what should we do? Tell us, what should we do for this yoga? Follow the best is of course to surrender. At least follow the steps that Mother has shown us. It's all there in the writings. It's all there in the life. And that's why reading Savitri is to be on the path of yoga. It's as simple as that. Why? Because by reading Savitri, we come into contact with the consciousness of the author. Actually, any book for that matter. And don't we see it when we watch a cinema? What happens? We come into contact with the consciousness of the director or the, storyteller, and it can leave all kinds of impression upon us. A good impression, a horrible impression, etc. So he knew that, doing yoga is a difficult thing for human beings, but let me embody this consciousness in a body of word and sound. Read Savitri every day, one page, one paragraph, one line, write it, 1 hour, half an hour, 1 minute, ek ghadi ya do ghadi, adho mein punyat, tulsi, sangati, sadhuki, hare koti aprad. Even if one moment, what is there? That is yoga. Simple way of doing yoga. So when we are reading Savitri, we are actually engaged in yoga. It's not a talk. Mother has said so beautifully. She says, what is Savitri? She says the importance of Savitri is immense. The time spent in its atmosphere is never wasted. She was referring to the paintings of Huta. She was not even speaking of reading. Atmosphere. Just, they are about Savitri. She says the time spent in his atmosphere is never wasted. So simple. So, accepting his darkness, thou must bring to him light. Accepting his sorrow, thou must bring to him bliss. In matter's body, find thy heaven-born soul. This is the first fundamental step of this yoga, described in great detail in Savitri. Soul is not a metaphysical theory or a conception or an idea to be debated and discussed or passed in the parliament as an act that henceforth we'll believe that soul exists, or the journalists decide over a forum where there are for and against. Does soul exist? Is it scientifically proven? As I said, scientifically, it's not proven whether I exist or not. And honestly, I'm telling you, logical debate, you cannot prove that you exist. Very difficult to prove it logically. But you exist. That's a strange fallacy of reason. So, it's not to be decided by that. These are things we have to practice. And by practice it means to go inside. The path has been shown to us. In Savitri there is a detailed description of how to go inside with a resolute will, what experiences we will encounter, what difficulties are there, what dangers they are there, and eventually through all this we have to navigate, and ultimately when we know we have found our soul, what really happens. That is very beautifully described, and we shall just read a little bit of that aspect of Savitri's yoga when she finds and discovers her soul. This is the first transformation that takes place. And it's a beautiful description of the awakening of the power that is asleep within us, the power that can conquer death. It's asleep within us, and it's known as the Kundalini Shakti, which Aurobindo writes in one line, the power in the Kundalini is the mother's power. It is a portion of her power which lies at the base. And in traditional yoga, there is a lot of effort in Kundalini yogas, to awaken it by will, by force, with mantras and tantra and all that. How do we do in this yoga? We don't try that. We bring out the king. The logic is very simple. Say, people want to bring the king out of his, White House or Teen Murti Bhavan or wherever. Parliament House. What do? You try all kinds of things and this or that. But when you want to have all the ministers and all the things. But if once the king steps out, then everybody will come and gather. You are looking for a minister running from pillar to post and here and there, and they can do many things for you, but they don't listen to you. But the moment the king comes out, then everybody gathers around. It's a natural thing. It's the simplest thing to happen. So in this yoga, we have to focus on the finding of the soul. Not to, raise powers and try to acquire these things. When the soul awakens, it is the king. It is the hidden king. And when it steps out, all these ministers and powers, they awaken. Even the gods and goddesses. Man's soul is a direct delegate of the Supreme. We must understand its great significance. It's only when this is not awakened that we need this god or this or that. We don't need to go through that. If the soul is awakened, that's why yesterday, we had this thing, and Mother has very truly said they didn't know about the psychic being. That's why they had to go through this complex process of all the gods. The moment you discover your psychic being, you don't have to go through that, because it contains in itself all of them, something of their energy. And the moment the soul awakens, the Divine Mother rises in her fullness and all these divinities burst forth. So we have on page 528, a wonderful line. The moment Savitri discovers her soul, then what happens? In its deep lotus home, her being sat, as if on concentration's marble seat, calling the mighty mother of the worlds to make this earthly tenement her house. This is to be done only after one has discovered this soul. Otherwise, it's a dangerous practice to call the mighty mother of the worlds to hold this house of flesh. It will break down. So Aurobindo always would say that this is the first thing necessary to discover the soul. This is the safe path. As in a flash from a supernal light, a living image of the original power, a face, a form, came down into her heart and made of it its temple and pure abode. But when its feet had touched the quivering bloom, a mighty movement rocked the inner space, as if a world were shaken and found its soul. Out of the inconscient's soulless, mindless night, a flaming serpent rose, released from sleep. This power wakes up. The moment, the divine has come, everybody, would wake up. When mother's routine, it's amazing, Sometimes she would come back at 11:30, 12 o'clock and the last meditation. So people are waiting in the courtyard and they all are dozing off. But they don't want to go. So they fall off asleep. But somebody was keeping guard. Hardhan, Bakshi. So he is waiting. The moment he sees mother is coming, so he had what is called as bhumpus, on which you can make announcements the whole time. So he announced, mother is coming, and everybody wakes up. Mother is coming. All the sadhaks, who must have been, some of them great yogis, suddenly wake up, mother is coming. It's natural. When mother comes, who will remain asleep? All these powers and divinities wake up naturally. All the gods come and say, what do you want? Because they see that the Divine Mother is with us. And then what happens? Few lines below, last 7-8 lines from below. An image sat of the original power, wearing the mighty mother's form and face, armed, bearer of the weapon and the sign, the Kundalini Shakti, the power behind it, whose occult might no magic can imitate. Manifold, yet one she sat, a guardian force. A savior gesture stretched her lifted arm, and symbol of some native cosmic strength, a sacred beast lay prone below her feet. A silent, flame-eyed mass of living force. When she wakes up, just reading is so powerful. It's yoga, as I said. And then what happens? We have so many methods we try for changing human nature. But mystics, yogis have even declared it's like a dog's tail. But this is a one way, very simple. Books are written. Everybody want, because we all feel we are very responsible people. Responsible for everything in the world. So we want, what should I do? Work upon myself. Mother said they are the most difficult people, last to change. Those who work upon themselves. Because they are still in the mind. I must do something. It's very difficult to surrender to the divine that you do it. It's not a joke. For a long time, we have to offer. She waits. When she sees it, a time comes when she says, okay, I accept your proposal, I'll do it in you. Life begins to change. Mighty movement rocks the inner shape. Everything begins to go topsy-turvy. But the yoga or the offering has been accepted. In ancient yagna, it used to be known that for a long period, the priest is offering the sacrifice, but the gods have not yet come. They wait. And then after a while they will come. And when they come, the whole process starts. So for a long time, we have to just continue the process. And a time comes when she undertakes. And then what happens? All underwent a high celestial change. How many times Sri Aurobindo has said, this yoga is not done by one's own effort alone. No human power or tapasya can do it. Repeatedly, all through Sri Aurobindo's writings, letters, everywhere. But if you turn to the mother, this yoga can be done. Repeatedly. If I have to, someone once asked, so can you tell me in one line the essence of this yoga? How to do this yoga? I said, all these can be summarized in 3 words. And these 3 words were spoken by Nalinida once, when he was asked to give a talk. In auditorium, there was a play and, he was asked to give a talk. So Nalinida stood, remained silent, and then he said 3 words. Love the mother. Sat down. How to do integral yoga? Love the mother. Do we need to learn how to love? Even our human love, we know how to love. Ethechuk, otherak. Pick it up from here, put it there. As simple as that. Do we need to be taught how to love? Love is the only power which cannot be systematized or codified. Because it follows its own unique lawlessness. When Uddhav tells Krishna, your follower devotees, gopis have gone crazy and you have allowed them to go crazy. Your fault. You should teach them that this is not yoga. So he says, well, what to do? I don't have time to teach them. Why don't you go and teach them? So he says, okay, I'll go as your emissary. So he gives him a letter and says, you go and give this to all the gopis that I am Krishna's emissary and I have come to teach you yoga. Nowadays there is so much about yoga teaching and quite a bit of money involved in that. So he goes to teach yoga. So he starts by telling all of them, stay quiet, stay quiet. Yes, who are you? Oh, I have a letter from Krishna. Oh, they pounce and they all snatch the letter and Krishna has sent a letter and they are holding a piece in their hands and they are so thrilled. My Krishna remembered me. He said, you mad guys, just listen. Okay, tell me, what do you want to say on behalf of Krishna? See, this is not the way yoga is done. What should we do? He says, see, you should not love a human being. He is a human being. You should love the Nirakar, Brahman, all that he says. So Gopi said, but we have one difficulty. We have already given our heart to Krishna. You want us to take it back and put it somewhere else? It's a very tough job. He said, no. First you must prepare yourself through pranayam. He says, what do you mean by pranayam? The science of breath. So again say, Uddhav, just hold on, just a sec. We have given our breath to Krishna. Now you want us to restrain and do this and do this. His breath is given to Krishna. With each breath we take his name. So Uddhav at the end of it is chastised and goes back and says, your lila is strange. I thought I am going to teach them, but I have come back a learned man. So and the Divine Mother awakes. Everything undergoes a change. It's as simple as that. Give to her. And then what happens when she comes? All underwent a high celestial change. Powers, 2 lines below. Effacing the circles of the ignorance, powers and divinities burst flaming forth. Each part of the being trembling with delight. Each part, not just delight within. Joy in the mind, because it has tasted the knowledge that comes not by thought. Joy in the heart, filling us with the sweetness of divine love, the nectar of divine love. Joy in the vital, freed from passions and desires and turbulences, and becoming a cup bearer of the luminous force of the divine. joy even in the body, which shares the delight ineffable. All underwent a high celestial change. Lay overwhelmed with tides of happiness. How to be happy? How to be simply happy? Give yourself to the divine. This must be a complicated process. Can't say so easily, give yourself to the divine. Then you have to write 5 books, each one describing how you should sit, which posture you should sit, what time of the day you should sit, which divine, what divine, all this scholarly wisdom. And then at the end again you say, give yourself to the divine. Then, humanity understands that yes, fine, this is good. But if you simply say, give yourself to the divine, it's very difficult. This is the paradox of human life. And saw her hand in every circumstance. How to know who is a realized being? And felt her touch in every limb and cell. In the country of the lotus of the head, which thinking mind has made its busy space, in the castle of the lotus twixt the brows, whence it suits the arrows of its sight and will. In the passage of the lotus of the throat, where speech must rise and the expressing mind and the heart's impulse run towards word and act. A glad uplift and a new working came spontaneously. By the very fact that one has found the soul and given oneself to the Divine Mother, she takes the charge of the yoga. The immortal's thoughts displaced our bounded view. How to think positive? Everybody says, think positive. But nobody says how to think positive. No, you think positive. And this goes on. Psychiatrists change. Books change. Trainers change. But the problem is, everybody knows, Baba, that I have to think positive. Don't tell me it. People are sick and tired. How to think positive? Bring a drop of that light. It will displace all the bounded views. Nothing doing. It will automatically go away. Light up a lamp. The immortal's thoughts, earth's drab idea and sense. All things now bore a deeper, heavenlier sense. Everything now begins to assume a new significance. In our ordinary normal life, everything is seen with an egocentric significance. If good things happen, by good things we mean pleasing things to my ego. So it continues. Somebody flatters me. Oh, he's a wonderful man, I have never met a person like him. Because the person is flattering the ego. And somebody says, look here, I think you need to mend yourself. My wife, all the time she is critical of me. She is the only friend who will show you the mirror and put you in your place. Keep her one sensible person who will make sure you are grounded. So this is, this kind of everything that pleases and satisfies my ego is good. So if God does things which please my ego, He is very good. But if God does things, whether He does or not is not the issue. Poor fellow, we should not all the time be... but if things happen which are not according pleasing to me, then He's a bad guy, He's a cruel guy. So this is how we see. But now, when the soul awakes, a new working. The whole vision changes. In every circumstance we see, you see how Aurobindo, when he goes to Alipur jail, what does he say? He says, the bonds that I had not the power to break, thou hast broken for me. What an example for us. The bonds that I did not have the power to break. He wanted. For a long time he says, I was feeling that I must step out of this movement and enter into another journey. But how could I leave my country? And what were the bonds? Not something ordinary. He was not worried about his wife and family and children. His country, that was very special to him. And he always thought that what will happen to the movement if I am out? And then suddenly he is put into the jail and he tells the divine, why have you brought me here before the country is liberated? After that I don't mind going anywhere. And then all that he hears is, wait and see. And then he shows. And what does he show? Then his vision changes. He says, the bonds that I did not have the power to break, you have broken for me. This is the change that takes place. In ordinary life, we live in a castle, but we are in a prison house. Worried about everything, from the taxman to the man next door to the child to everybody. But in spiritual life, we are in a prison. And we see, Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanang Tato Na Vijugupsate. The one divine everywhere. It's there in Aurobindo's aphorism. And it can be very funny, Sometimes we can go to a holy place and feel bored. Aurobindo says that. I went to a holy place, to a place full of holy men, and felt bored. Then God took me to a prison, and it became his twisting ground. It's true, when the inner discrimination awakes, you are not deceived by wearing a gerua or white or whatever, or giving pravachan. You will see through it that this man has nothing holy about him, even though he is all dressed. We have those lines in Ashwapati's Savitri. When Ashwapati enters into hell, what does he discover? My God, the stamp of hell. Where he finds it in so many places. In courtrooms, in streets, in high professions. He finds the stamp of hell, including preachers. Most dangerous species. So he sees there, the fiend was there, but cloaked in light. He seemed a helping angel from the skies. Somebody asked mother, please come and see our Guruji. He'll be very happy. Early days. What could mothers do? She goes there, and the moment she saw the Guru, she could see the Asura who is there. And this Asura, now he is troubled because he has come and will reveal the secret. And these inner communications is, don't worry, I know this game is an old game. It's between you and him. Don't bother. But we are carried away by these things. Instead, we should focus on the one thing needful to bring out the soul. Reset, deeper heavenly essence. A glad, clear harmony marked their truth's outline. We see disconnectedness in our life because we are mostly on the surface. Time to time we dip inside. But when we live within, we will see the continuity of everything that has happened. It's not a meaningless journey. There is a deep meaning in everything that is happening. But it's not the way our egoistic mind desires. Reset the balance and measures of the world. We have these wonderful lines in the Gita that Ya Nishas Sarva Bhuteshu Tasya Jagrati Sanyami. He's awake when all are asleep. I'm not mentioning about the afternoon class. Today, Hasmukh Bhai and Gita Ben and everybody has made sure that we remain asleep because of the lovely lunch served late to make sure that, there is maximum attendance. I hope it was not by design. But anyways, I benefited coming towards the end for my cup of tea and finding some nice food. So, you see, he is awake. The measures of the world change. Before we rush to conclusion, let us first awaken the true intelligence within us which can really judge things. We are rushing to judgments of all kinds. Without the light, so the light comes, the measures of the world, reset. What appeared as, oh my God, I should escape it, becomes the natural course through which we must pass. What we thought is very pleasant, God's grace, there we began to see caution, dangerous. So reset the measures of the world. Each shape showed its occult design, unveiled God's meaning in it for which it was made, and the vivid splendor of his artist thought. Everything becomes full of his glory and his light and love. A channel of the mighty mother's choice, the immortal's will, took into its calm control our blind or erring government of life. Even if we are trying to go in a track we should not go, she has taken control. She holds and puts us back. So, when we offer ourselves, this is the big advantage. Because many times, we are foolish creatures, let's accept it. The sooner we accept, the better it is for us. If we keep thinking we are very intelligent beings and pass all others are stupid, then it doesn't help us. It's good to, this is the humility actually we should have. Humility is not before others. Oh, sir, you are so great, and this is not. It's often a show and a sham. True humility is before the divine, that I am nothing, I can do nothing without you. So everything begins to be under her. See, the most dangerous person whom we should be careful about is our own self. The Gita has spoken about it. And there is a prayer of the mother. She says, to save one from oneself. Even about India, one place somebody writes, Ravindraji, Mother, I think India has to be saved from Indians. He said, yes, very true. India must be saved from Indians. So true. So realistic. See, it's so true. I mean, it's not that all and every Indian, but it's so true that, we are so much lost in all these old formulas and not willing to spearhead towards the future. With all the energy of the rishis in our blood and bones and genes, we fall back upon, going back to some antiquated philosophy rather than marching into the future. These were our rishis who could offer his bone as sacrifice to kill the great adversary, who could discover the aircrafts which could fly in the sky. These were the rishis, before whom all the adverse powers, was Vasisht, who could confront an entire army, did not bow his head and said, you have an army? I have the light. Come. These are the rishis. That mastery. But instead of that, we are very happy speaking about, this scripture, that scripture, and debating and discussing. It's not about philosophy. Indian yoga is that. We must recover. At one place, Aurobindo says, recover the ancient Aryan thought, the Aryan wisdom. Recover the Vedas, Upanishads, the Gita in your heart. Not recover it in form of a textbook. Recover it in our heart, to live it. Mother, before she came to Pondicherry, she had already been an adept in the Buddhist yoga and the yoga of the Gita. She had realized the truth of the yoga of the Gita. That's what is necessary. It's immaterial whether she could recite the mantras of Gita or not. She had realized the truth. So this is how the change comes. Life now obeyed to a diviner rule, and every act became an act of God. It's not that some things are divine and some things are human. Everything should become one ceaseless flow of the eternal to the eternal. In the kingdom of the lotus of the heart, love chanting its pure hymnal hymn made life and body mirrors of sacred joy, and all the emotions gave themselves to God. Every possible human relation can find its fulfillment in the divine. Every possible. He is everything. He is the friend, the playmate, the mischievous boy who comes with us, the master, the teacher, the comrade, and of course, the paramour and the beloved. How can the divine become a paramour? Aurobindo gives a very interesting example in one of his aphorisms. To commit adultery with God, this world was perfectly created. And then he explains it so beautifully. He says, another aphorism, he says that we owe something to the world by way of duty. It's our duty, We are married to the world. But secretly, our love goes to our paramour and beloved. How beautiful. How he knew about human nature and shattered. Mother gave this comment on it. Aurobindo with his characteristic style shatters all our notions of conventional morality. So outwardly, you are bound by duty to the world. We must do it. But inwardly, whom do we love? That is the greatness of Draupadi. She had 5 husbands, but she loved only Krishna. How beautiful this is. That all emotions gave themselves to God. And everywhere in the navel lotus, and then, in the smallest part in matter, everywhere this change comes. And then Savitri is equipped to confront. Let me close this Savitri's yoga with what she discovers and becomes. So Savitri grows through this process and shows us the way. And as I said, the whole thing is in detail. Obviously, if we get into it, one passage of Savitri is enough for a whole session, and one canto of one book is enough for a workshop. So for a whole week. So I am just going on to Savitri's yoga and where it finally ends. This is on page 556 to 557. The Cosmic Spirit and the Cosmic Consciousness, Book 7, Canto 7. So we read where Ashupati's yoga ends. Now where does Savitri's yoga end? Where she is ready now to take on death. Her spirit saw the world as living God, not just as a presence, witness, living God, breathing God. She is seeing that everything is not just animated but energized by the divine, living God. It saw the one and knew that all was He. Fundamental practice of integral yoga. People ask, what is the practice? When Aurobindo was asked what is the best idea to meditate upon, he said, one can meditate upon several great ideas, but the best is what is given in the Ish Upanishad. What is the best idea? God is in all, divine is in all is in the divine, and the divine is all. If you try to meditate upon it, and mother said, my child, you don't know the power of this meditation. She said, this story of Prahlad. She saw a film where Prahlad, escapes, is protected. It's very true. She said it's very true. Somebody who can see divine in everything, including the adversity. Prahlad is thrown from the mountain and snakes are sent and all kinds of, including, father finally wants to kill him. So if you can really see the divine in everything, then you are protected beyond measure. It's very difficult for human consciousness. This is yoga. Somebody asks, what is the practice of integral yoga? Well, let us start from today onwards till the next conference. Let us realize this state. What is this state? It saw the one and knew that all was He. Her spirit saw the world as living God. It saw the one and knew that all was He. How to do it? By meditating upon it. As simple as that. That's why in Upanishads, you see, what is the way to realize the truths? Not by analysis. Upanishads themselves declare, Nayamatma pravachene nabedha na bahuna shutin. You cannot analyze and realize this truth. So how to realize the truth? The truth is there. Meditate upon it. It will unlock a door and you will realize what the Rishi meant. Take a verse, Isha vasyamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. And if we continue dwelling upon it, the truth behind it will reveal itself. Same method for Savitri, not different. If we meditate upon the lines and do it sincerely with the will to realize the truth, the lines will suddenly one day open before us, like a capsule, it blasts and light, living light. The words will no more be inscribed in book like, hard stones. There will be a living fire which will emerge, which will not have a form and shape, but it will just enter us and change us. So we should meditate upon this line. Another take-home point. Meditate upon lines of Savitri with the will to realize what is indicated there. She knew Him as the Absolute's self-space, one with herself and ground of all things here, in which the world wanders, seeking for the truth, guarded behind its face of ignorance. She followed Him through the march of endless time. So suddenly she discovered that through this march of civilizations, through the rise and fall of empires, through the strife of, enemies and the clasp of love, through all this upheaval, it is the divine who is marching. How beautiful this. The Gita hints at it. Lok Sangrahart. So it is he who is marching. And she discovers that. All nature's happenings were events in her. The heartbeats of the cosmos were her own. All beings thought and felt and moved in her. How to have this, what analysis can tell us about this? The only way is to experience this boundlessness. In the same book, Canto 6, we have when she experiences a state where Arcturus and Belphegor, they are, two constellations of stars, burn in a corner of your boundless self. The world's destruction, a transient storm. That is the state of consciousness. Both Mother and Aurobindo had experienced it. Aurobindo in Alipur jail, those who were with him, they say that he was so much in that state that it seemed that even if a nuclear explosion was going to take place, he would remain unmoved. That is the state. It's out of that immobility the power to change can come. It cannot come with a restless mind. So she has, and one of the ways to become immobile inwardly is to become vast. And the way to become vast is to identify with that which is vast. And how to identify with that which is vast? There are physical images which help us to expand, like the sea or the sky, or most of all, the Divine Mother. And Pondicherry has all the three. So, we have the sea and the sky, mind you, with the stars. And it has the Divine Mother. Of course, she is everywhere. It's a way of saying. And we can, give ourselves to her. This is the simplest way to become vast. And when we become vast, everything becomes still. Like the ocean. Depths. So, few lines below. One, multitudinous in multitudes. She was a single being, yet all things. The world was her spirit's wide circumference. The thoughts of others were her intimates, their feelings close to her universal heart. Their bodies, her many bodies kin to her. She was no more herself, but all the world. This is what in the morning we were saying. That how the mother does the yoga. We do the yoga is a different story. Now the story is changed. She has identified with everything and she is doing the yoga. In the First World War, her body she had offered in Holocaust. And every part of her body represented some nation, something that was going on. And she speaks about it. If you read through her experiences, mind-boggling. Her body had become the body of the earth. And each part represented something or the other. So she has identified, even her physical consciousness, with all of us. That's why there is hope. If it is left to man to do yoga, where will be the hope? This kind of a yoga. But we have to still give ourselves. That is important. So when people would tell mother would say, so my child, how are you? She would say, mother, you know. Yes, but I want you to tell me. But why, mother? To see how much you know. How conscious you are of your own self. What's going on inside. And what you are trying to hide. That's why you must tell. That's why we must have, some people say, why should I write and tell? Divine knows everything. Yes. But we have to do our side of the work is to see, that's how we'll become conscious. She would ask, are you sure? Sometimes. Then, she will make us more and more conscious. Chamanlalji was telling me once this story. I was in this dilemma whether I should go out or not and give talks. And it was going on, So many indications were coming from mother that this is one of the work. But still I didn't want the least trace of any movement to be mixed with all this. So at that time he told me this story without knowing all this going on inside me. That was the beauty of it. So he told me, when I wanted to go, I got a call from outside and he had to go. So he asked the mother, what should I do? So mother asked him, do you want to go? So he said, no mother, I don't want to go. So mother said, are you sure? So he said, mother, Whatever I am conscious of, that I can say, I am sure. But I don't know if there are things hidden in my subconscious. Then mother said, yes, you should go, because if you don't go, somebody else will go and it will be misrepresented. For some reason, strange, obviously it was again one of the ways she had to tell me also. So he was narrating this story to me on his own. So I said, this is so wonderful that, she makes us conscious. So that's why we should ask her. That's why we should tell her. And keep telling her. Also, what may be alright for one moment may not be alright after 5 years, 10 years. So we should be also plastic to that guidance. It's nothing for all time. At one stage what is necessary may not be at another stage. She was no more herself but all the world. Out of the infinitudes all came to her. Into the infinitudes sentient she spread. Infinity was her own natural home. So she is now fully armed. Only infinity and the limitless can conquer death. Death by its nature is something that limits. That's how it divides. In the ancient Vedic sense, immortality was one with the limitless and the boundless. And that's why this simple exercise is given to all of us by the mother. That whenever you feel, when we are in depression or distress, see what happens with anxiety. We suddenly become very narrow. We don't realize it. But we are all crumpled up and all like this. Physically we may not be. Sometimes even physically one becomes like this. Oh my God, this happening to me. We are all caught up. Even if there is lovely, something very beautiful, maybe the best sweet dish, we will not notice it. We are all, closed inside. So what is the cure? He says, think of the boundlessness of space and the endlessness of time. Just think, conceive. How many lives, how many forms, how many moments, how many actually in psychology we use something like this. We tell a person what difficult challenges you have already gone through. When a child is in second standard or nursery, feels, oh my God, so life is difficult. But when he's a father and child has to go to nursery exam, he says, don't worry my child, doesn't matter whether you pass or fail. It's okay. Because you have gone through it and it's nothing. So by becoming boundless and endless, these are exercises. I said the best is of course by identifying, giving ourselves to her. So then it becomes possible to conquer death. Nowhere she dwelt. Even physically it is possible. She speaks about it, that the physical ego must be dissolved and it must enter into boundlessness. We are not going into it, but it applies at every level. Nowhere she dwelt. Her spirit was everywhere. This experience of the mother, nowhere she dwelt. There is a nice little sweet story of the mother. 1960, 29th February, she wanted to distribute medals of gold to all her children on the first anniversary of the supramental manifestation. It was like a declaration. People knew, but it was the first official grand declaration. It had established itself. So that day morning, Krishna comes, naughty, mischievous, childlike in gold. Told her, I know what you're going to do. You see, when you come, you won't find a place to sit. He wants to have fun. He is mischievous. So mother said, okay, no problem. So since he knew Krishna is coming, she told all the disciples, see, make the arrangements like this, don't do anything. So she wanted, because he has come and told, I'm going to come and sit on the chair. You won't have a place to sit. Look at, this is like a Puranic story it is, but narrated by the mother herself. In Puranas there would be stories like this, And she says, but they didn't listen to me, they didn't understand, so they did whatever they had to do. And by the time I came, already all arrangements were made. Anyways, so he was seated there, smiling mischievously. Now where will you sit? Now it's not a physical reality, but for her it's a reality. So she says, she knows the trick. So it's, going on between one divinity and the Divine Mother. So she knew the trick. So she said, I did that line in Savitri, annul thyself that only God may be. No one and nothing was there and she was nowhere and everywhere. And she describes the experience. Though physically it was Krishna who was giving the medals, it was her own hands doing it, but she was nowhere and everywhere at the same time. Because she had known this experience. She had mastered it. She could do it. So, it's a very beautiful story narrated in the agenda as the Golden Krishna. So, if you read it, it'll be wonderful to read the original. Out of the infinitudes, nowhere she dwelt, her spirit was everywhere. The distant constellations veiled round her. We have Vishwa Darshan of Krishna. Look at the Divine Mother. Several places we have Divine Mothers and the Divine Beings, Vishwa Darshan in Savitri. This is yoga. See, we go to a temple and still can't have this darshan. So when we read this, with all sincerity, with all quietude, not with the analytical mind. If you see the Lord, you see the Lord. What is there to analyze about it? You just see the Lord. So it is like she is showing us. Aurobindo is showing us the Divine Mother in her, all universality. The distant constellations veiled round her. Earth saw her born. All worlds were her colonies. The greater worlds of life and mind were hers. All nature reproduced her in its lines. Its movements were large copies of her own. It's the original. In Upanishads there is the Dash Mahavidya, where you have the 10 levels, forms of the Divine Mother. From the highest, Tripur Sundari, to the lowest, Dhumavati, who is covered with darkness. All the layers. So suddenly Aurobindo is bringing us face to face with this immense reality of the Divine Mother. Everywhere she is, in all the worlds, countless worlds, they are trying to imitate her, trying to copy. Nature is trying, I can see something she's trying to copy. So this is the experience. She was the single self of all these selves. She was in them and they were all in her. That's what she has told. My child living within the heart of each atom, I kindle therein the fire that never dies. She has said several times, go within, you will find myself there. Such wonderful things. And says, my child, when you sing, I do not watch, I go down with you. Because she is identified with all of us. This first was an immense identity in which her own identity was lost. What seemed herself was an image of the whole. She was a subconscious life of tree and flower. That's why they would come to her. Mother, they are going to cut me in the morning. Cut a branch of mine. Mother would call the disciple. You are doing that? Yes, mother, but who told you? We have not yet told you. Yeah, the tree came and told me. The tree came and told me. Life of bird and beast and flower. So many stories. The crow would come every day. Feed with her hands. One day she didn't go and Champaklalji went and gave the same bread. He would turn away. He didn't eat. Crows are more sensible creatures than us. We don't mind going here, there, everywhere and pick up, in Hindi there is a very good word, jutan. I don't know what is the English equivalent? The waste, the vomitus from everywhere. But the crow knew, no, only mother, your hands. I'm not going to take it from anybody's hands. So this crow is teaching us yoga. The crow yoga must have been Kak Bursundi. The outbreak of the honeyed buds of spring. She burned in the passion and splendor of the rose. That's how she could tell all the names of these flowers, their aspiration. She was the red heart of the passion flower, the dream white of the lotus in its pool. We have read about Krishna's Vibhuti Yoga. Now you see this Vibhuti Yoga, the very best, the secret soul, its aspiration, that she is. All nature is a manifestation of her. Out of subconscious life she climbed to mind. She was thought and the passion of the world's heart. Now in Sri Krishna's Vibhuti Yoga, he names the Vibhutis. And then he says, look, Arjuna, there are countless. Where will it begin and where will it end? So leave it here. It's a battlefield. So now, many things which in the Gita we see that Krishna hinted but couldn't complete because after all it's a battle. Aurobindo completes it. So this time he makes it very simple. Without naming, he is saying all the thought and passion that heaves to the heights, wherever it is manifested. She was thought and the passion of the world's heart. She was the Godhead hid in the heart of man. She was the climbing of his soul to God. Wherever we see this divine impulse and divine impulsion to climb beyond our mortal state, this urge to break free from the circle of ignorance, she is there. What a wonderful. The cosmos flowed in her. She was its bed. Very nice one small Bengali letter of Aurobindo to a Bengali sadhika. Mother is the path. Mother is the goal. She is the beginning. She is the end. If you know this, nothing else is needed. Can yoga be ever more simple? Who said that we must read and understand the life divine before undertaking the yoga? It's as simple as that. She was time and the dreams of God in time. She was space and the wideness of his days. Last 4 lines, we'll stop then. From this she rose where time and space were not. So we have her universality, then the transcendence. The superconscient was her native air. Infinity was her movements, natural space. Eternity looked out from her on time. So thus ends the mother's yoga, which in traditional Savitri, we just know that she did yoga, some vrata for 3 days. This is the yoga she undertook, where she awakened that power of the world mother within her, so that she could confront time and death. Lesson for us, very simple. If we really want to save ourselves and rescue this race, let us also awaken this power within us. The method and way, very simple. Give ourselves to the Divine Mother. That is the simple path. So this is the take-home point for all of us. So we'll stop here and take a break.